Good morning and welcome. We continue our series of devotions on spiritual disciplines. And this morning we consider the discipline of fellowship. God's children are not solo individuals. God saves us from the world and saves us to Himself and adds us to His family. The Christian life is corporate, not individual and private. Personal, but corporate. And so, a clear mark of a healthy Christian, a growing Christian, is their devotion to fellowship with other believers. Gathering with other believers to build one another up in the most holy faith. The writer of Hebrews warns and exhorts the readers to not neglect the gathering of the believers. He says to them in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 23, "Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering. For He who promised is faithful. And let us consider how to steer one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is a habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near." So the exhortation is we must hold fast to our confession, to the faith that we have believed, and not be tossed to and fro. And in order to do that, we must gather together to stir one another up to love and good works. We must gather to provoke one another, is the word. And we usually use the word provoke in a negative sense. It's the idea of poking someone. And the writer of Hebrews here is saying, God's children must be in the habit of poking each other to love and good works. And the way you do that is by gathering, by doing life together, meeting regularly and consistently with other believers to worship God, yes, but to stir one another up, provoke one another to love God, love others, and provoke one another to do good, and encourage one another in doing good and in loving. And it says, we must be weary of neglecting to meet with believers, as is the habit of some. It is impossible to stir others to love and good works, or encourage other people in their walk with the Lord, if you are in the habit of neglecting to gather with them. There is no substitute for gathering together. And it is impossible for a Christian to grow in their walk with the Lord and to grow in their service of God and others if they don't gather with other believers. Christianity is not a solo mission. It's not one Bob better. There are no lone rangers. It's a family, it's corporate, and it requires discipline and devotion to have a pattern, a lifestyle that gathers with other believers, corporately worship God, corporately save one another, corporately build one another up to love and good works. And the writer of Hebrews actually says this is an antidote to falling away. So he says in verse 26, "For if we go on sinning deliberately after receiving the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sins, but a fearful expectation of judgment and a fury of fire that will consume the adversaries. Show me a Christian who is irregular in gathering with other believers, and I will show you a Christian who is falling away. Show me a Christian who is devoted to gathering, encouraging others, and building one another, building others in the most holy faith, and stirring them to love and good works. And I will show you a Christian who is vibrant and growing. Dear friends, may we be devoted to gathering with other believers as a family of God. Amen.